Yeah, so okay, for people who don't know you guys, the channel is Northern Perspective. It's on YouTube. Go check it out. You guys are do some of the best commentary on Canadian politics. A little more on the wonky side, or more on the dorky side, if you guys know the difference between wonks and dorks. Uh,
We explained that actually on one of our videos after you brought it up.
Oh,
So
really?
thank you very much. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that before that.
Oh,
So we're
good.
definite wonks.
Yeah, you guys are on the wonky side. I'm on the dorky side, but that's what's good. It makes it for very entertaining, collaborative efforts, to say the least, on this. But obviously, you guys work in places where you're unable to share your identities. And for people that are watching, this is the reason why we have two beautiful cartoon images over here on this side, and it's the way things have to be for the time being. And we can all understand it because we live in a communist utopia. That's I don't know. That's my best explainer for the whole thing.
Yeah, it's pretty good. You know, at one point, people will know, you know, who we are, and a lot of it will make sense. But it's just to protect ourselves, and and because we've seen so many examples of people that have had the government come after them. Like, look at Tamar Leach, look at Chris Barber right now, just for standing up and having an opinion.
Yeah.
Look at Jordan Peterson.
But yeah, Jordan Peterson, like the establishment coming after him. You know, we're not prepared to like step into public life like that, like those folks. But it is what it is, and you know, some people can deal with it, some people can't. But I think the new format that we've adjusted to, you know, after the last like 3 or 4 months, I think a lot of people, I think we found that niche and that balance, that we present ourselves, you know, not as cartoon characters anymore, but more as just a polished experience, kind of like, you know, the liberal hive mind, as we've talked before.
Yeah, absolutely, and yeah, he's got a great channel, and you guys have a great channel as well. David Edwards with a $2 super chat says oil lamp lighting. I think that might be the new one. I think that's it. For people who don't know, the gaslighting comes from an old movie. It was an old movie called The Gaslight, and it was a black and white. I think even a young Angela Lansbury was in that film, believe it or not, when she was really young, and she was a looker.
Yeah, she was a looker way back.
Oh yeah, big time. But and she's one of those cases where a beautiful woman matured and became a beautiful old lady. You know what I mean? She aged very gracefully, unlike some of the Hollywood types that go to the surgeon to make always the same ugly face. I don't know why they choose to do that. You know, some people just age gracefully and just come to grips with the fact that you're going to be an old person one day. But anyway, that being aside, gaslighting comes from that film. The concept behind it was there was this psychopathic husband that wanted to torment his wife, and kept turning the gas lights down and making it dimmer and dimmer and dimmer in the house, driving her insane by telling her there's nothing wrong with the lights. He would do it often, and he drove her into insanity by telling her that nothing was changing, nothing was
that I didn't know that. Thank you for that history.
So that's where the term comes from, where, you know, someone's doing something and manipulating a situation, but telling you that no, none of that's happening. That's gaslighting, right? So
well, I knew the definition. I just didn't know it was from that specific movie. That's great.
Yeah, gaslight. Penny D with a $2 super chat, not saying anything. Thank you, Penny D. Appreciate it. I'm gonna try this chat to keep up with the super chats as we're talking. It might get hectic, just giving it a go. Another thing we're doing as well is, after this chat, we're gonna go into Twitter Spaces. This is a new thing for me. I haven't hosted a Twitter Space before. Normally the after chat room will go to Discord, but I wanted to try out Twitter Spaces and see how that goes, because there's a lot of people in the community use Twitter and not Discord. We also have Louise Gowenlock, I hope I pronounced that right, gifting 5 memberships to the channel. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Really appreciate that. So, yeah, I wanted to have you guys on because you guys have been doing a lot of work on the ArriveCan app thing. And I know a bit about it, and I've covered a bit of what's going on, but you guys being the political wonks that you are, deep dive into some of the intricate parts of it. So just fill me in, like where are we at so far with ArriveCan?
So as most people probably know, everyone knows what the ArriveCan app is, so I won't go into that. Everyone knows it's a terrible piece of software that the government put in. And it was revealed last year that it cost over $54 million. So that, sent everybody into a tizzy, rightfully so, because an app, I can tell you, market, well, before I get into what it should cost, most people probably know that 2 developers did a hackathon over a weekend, and they were able to completely replicate the app without all of the back-end integration, but they were basically able to completely replicate the app front to back, and their estimate this would cost about $250,000 rather than $54 million. I even think that is an overestimation. I think you could probably build this app internally. They didn't have to subcontract this out. They could probably build this internally for about $100,000, and most of that would have been what we call brown dollars. So green dollars are dollars that we call money that you're spending outside of your budget. So you actually have to budget that for next year over and above what your normal operation costs. Brown dollars are basically you're using the time of people that are already budgeted, that would have been there regardless if you're doing the work, right? So let's say you have a software developer. He could be working on ArriveCan. He could be working on some stupid database, and he's getting paid in government money, probably $100,000 a year. It doesn't matter what he's working on. He's getting paid $100,000 a year. Those are brown dollars.
Right. Salary workers that you put to whatever task at hand that you need them to do.
So most of that they could probably have done for probably $100,000. Okay. Then it came out that these 2 whistleblowers from a company called Bottler, they came forward, and we learned that in 2021 they filed a complaint of misconduct and a bunch of other sketchy things that they saw, and in 2022 they provided an even more comprehensive complaint. Now, who's Bottler? Well, Bottler actually on the surface has nothing to do with ArriveCan, which is what the Liberals are actually attacking them for. But this is where it gets crazy. So,
okay, well, hold your thought on that one. We got a super chat from Frank Friesen. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. For $5, says, "I love Northern perspective." So getting praise in the chat. There's a lot of people praising.
I love you too.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, we love you too. And everybody better love Clyde. Get those likes up. They better match the viewers. Let's go.
Oh, they're not matching the viewers. No, I forgot to. I forgot to tell everybody.
Talk slower. We're gonna talk slower.
I talk slower.
Yeah, we're gonna keep bugging everybody till they match.
We'll hold that's Clyde's stream hostage.
That's funny. Yeah. Well, for those out there, it really helps out the channel. It's free. Just hit that like button, and what it does is it tells the algorithm that there are other people that like watch the kind of content that you watch. They probably would like this too. So helps out a ton with the recommendations. So thank you guys all for doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. So
this is where it gets crazy.
Yeah, it gets ridiculous. And this is where we fell down the rabbit hole, but we just kept going. So I'm going to try and keep this simple because we don't have 3.5 hours. So what ended up happening back in 2019, the Canada Border Services Agency, CBSA, they decided they wanted to look at taking an app that Bottler had already done for the general public, which is a sexual harassment identification app that uses artificial intelligence to help inform you, have you actually been sexually harassed, and what should you then go and do about it? Yeah, they actually use AI to actually do this. It's pretty neat. So what they wanted to do is take
Pretty
that.
neat.
And,
it sounds very intrusive, and it sounds kind of weird.
Well, no, you go there and you put your own stuff in. It's a voluntary thing. It doesn't like track you and everything. But anyway, so the government went to them, or the government decided they want to adapt that for the federal government. So a guy named Cameron McDonald, who was the director general at the time for CBSA, tapped his longtime buddy, Christian Firth, at a staffing firm called GC Strategies.
Okay.
GC Strategies then went and sought out Bottler and said, hey, I have a client who's interested in what you're doing. They want to kind of, have this app for the federal government. Can you guys put together a pilot for it? And they said, sure. Okay. Now, normally what happens in this case is a contract is then struck between the client, which would be CBSA, GC Strategies, and the subcontractor that they bring in. That's what normally happens. That didn't happen here. Somehow GC Strategies was able to convince Bottler to just start the work. Now, this isn't over one meeting. All this is happening over weeks and months. And what was eventually agreed upon was a $350,000 sum that Bottler would be paid, and for
something that they essentially had already completed.
Yeah, but they're adapting it. They're adding more features and they're re-engineering it for the government. Okay, fine.
David Edwards in the super chat with a super chat for $2 says if they did it internally, it would be ready by 2035.
But it still would have only cost $100,000.
Yeah, that's government work, right? The speed of government work. But they needed it faster, because they wanted it during the pandemic before everybody else. Yeah.
For sure.
Wow, David Burwell upgraded membership to gold member. Wow, thank you so much. Really appreciate that.
There you go. Thank you.
Wow.
So they would get 350,000, and then GC Strategies was going to get like a 20% cut. So it put them up to like 420,000. That was going to be the full value of the contract, right? So they would get a $70,000 cut. Fine. Mm-hmm. And Bottler said, well, where's the contract? They said, don't worry about it. This is how it works. Off you go. Fine. So they start working on their stuff. Now, over time, Bottler is kind of pinging GC Strategy saying, so where's our contract? What's going on? And when are we going to start to get paid? Because they had agreed on 6 payments. And they weren't getting paid. Now we're into 2020. Now ArriveCan is kind of in the fray.
So this is the government is paying them for this contract, or is this another contractor subcontracting? And
the CBSA was supposed to pay Bottler for this contract.
Okay, and the CBSA being an agency of the government would be a check from the government, correct?
That's correct. That's correct. They're an official government agency.
Penny D in the super chat saying for $10 says, "Good to see you all together. Thank you so much."
Yeah, we're with our favorite guy on YouTube. So this is what a better way to spend a Friday night.
Well, I appreciate that. I do. I really do.
That's right. So parallel to this, park all of that for a second. Mm-hmm. The government goes to another contractor called Dalian Enterprises. Dalian gets the contract or one of the contracts for ArriveCan, something like $22 million. And the reason why they got it is because Dalian is wholly owned and categorized as an indigenous business. The government has committed 5% of their total procurement towards indigenous businesses. So if you're an indigenous business, you have a leg up on all of your competition to get a government contract. Gotta love kids.
Go ahead.
Welcome to the stream.
Oh yeah, welcome to the stream. 何がいるの?
Oh, there's Batman.
今少しだから。ごめんなさい。できないの? できないよ。
こんにちは。はじめまして。
できないよ。後でね。今働いてるだから。じゃあ後でパパの入ったバッテリー。後でよ。
Oh, that's so awesome that you can raise them bilingual.
Arigato. I know a tiny bit, Clyde.
Yeah, so my son, we speak with him. We did this with my daughter as well. We speak only in Japanese for the first few years.
That's awesome.
And then that way they get because as soon as it makes for a tougher little bit in the start of getting used to English.
Yeah, but so much advantages later on.
Yeah, big advantages. So our kids are very bilingual.
Awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And so am I, but not French. I don't speak French. That's the funny part.
Je ne comprends pas, monsieur.
Je ne comprends pas. Je suis désolé.
Je suis a hot dog.
No, you're pronouncing the H too much.
Oh yeah, hot dog. There you go.
David Burwell, member for 19 months. Thank you for being a member for so long. I can't believe that. Says, where does the time go? Hope to catch more of the live streams. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. That's amazing being around for so long. I can't believe I've been at it for that long too.
Right? It disappears.
It has. It's been going by so quick. Every Friday comes along and it's like, again? All right, here we go. Right? It's crazy.
Yeah, we just started in January and we can't believe it's October. So, November basically next week. So
yeah, insane.
It's insane.
It really is.
So I'll try and get through this quickly. So Dalian gets contracted. Now, the thing about Dalian, and this is where it gets really sketchy. So there's two companies. There's Coridex and Dalian. They are separate staffing firms who get contracts from the government. Last year, Coridex received $42.2 million in contracts from the government. Dalian received $20 million from the government. Now, Coridex and Dalian are located in the same building, in the same office, and share the same staff.
Wait, what? They're the same people.
Yeah, the executives at the top are different, but they share the same staff underneath. So, for all intents and purposes, they're two companies, but they operate as one. And here's why that is super significant. When the government is issuing a contract for bid, they need at least two vendors. So, if you're a guy who has buddy-buddy relationships with these guys and maybe getting kickbacks from them, all you need to do is invite Coridex and Dalian to the table, because that's your two separate vendors. They're two legally different entities. And one of them will win the bid, which means both of them win the bid because it's effectively one company in the back end.
Oh, that's
the first bit of sketchiness.
Wait, so is it not legal to have a bid and only one company contractor go for the bid, or what?
But So according to internal government procurement rules, you have to have two,
or at least two.
Correct, to show that you've offered competition.
So you just have the same staff run two companies with different leadership at the top.
That's right. So yeah.
Oh man, this is gross.
Now, what the other thing that you can do is you can award so what they did is they awarded this big $22 million to ArriveCan, and they didn't really give a scope of work insofar as you're supposed to. So then what you can do in the government is you can issue what's called a task authorization. And a task authorization is something where you can say, hey, I need this done. Now, we already have a contract with you, so we're just going to tie it to that contract. Then you avoid going outside of the bidding process and out of the procurement process, and you can use what's already there. So why is that important? Because GC Strategies did not have a contract with CBSA with Bottler. So there was no contract. CBSA had a contract with Dalian, and when Bottler was complaining so much that they weren't getting paid, what GC Strategies said is they went back to Coridex and Dalian and said, hey, we need money for this contract. And they said, that's okay. We have this big pile of money for ArriveCan. You can have some of that. And they said, okay, so let's do that. But they said, well, in order to do that, we actually have to put the people that are receiving this money on the ArriveCan contract. So then what happened is GC Strategy said, no problem, here's the resumes. And then Dalian Cordex said, well, that's not going to be enough. So we're just going to add to their resume and completely forge that. And then that's what we're going to give back to CBSA.
They were pretty much pumping up the resumes of the two people at Bottler to say that they had more experience than they did, because then the value of the contract would be higher.
Right. Because what the government does is it rates the experience of the employees that are working on their contract and then compensates that accordingly. So so they only had,
this is something that's required by the government. Like they can't give them X amount unless they have X amount of experience. So they pad,
it's just based on
their
these rules.
experience and
100%. So, and
by lying,
and the best,
by lying and with a signature on it.
Well, but the best part is they didn't even have consent from the two people at Bottler to even take their resumes and do this. So it's identity theft.
Oh, really? Oh, no,
yeah.
Man. Oh, okay. Wow.
It's contract fraud as well.
Yeah, it's contract fraud as well, because we'll get into contract fraud. So identity theft is the first thing that happened. Then, okay, so they're saying, all right, so here's the contract. Now, from CBSA's point of view, they paid Dalian. They don't care how Bottler gets paid, but Dalian was contracted under the Indigenous procurement rules, so it was expected by the procurement process, not the government, I will say, because the government is corrupt, and we'll get into that.
Sorry, what's an Indigenous company? Was that a company that was established before Canada?
it's wholly owned by an Indigenous person or entity,
obviously, but
dummy.
No, but okay. So, but like, how do you? Does everybody involved in the company have to be
51% ownership? 51% ownership 51%, has to be Indigenous,
but the workers don't have to be. Just the corporation.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Anyway,
moving on.
But the beneficiary is supposed to be the owner of the company who's Indigenous, right? That's the whole intent.
Okay.
That's another topic for another day.
That is a totally other. That's a can of worms.
Because now they, I won't go into that. Okay.
Can of worms.
So
yeah.
So that was the first point of criminality that happened, and then the fact that Dalian was then saying, "Okay, GC Strategies, so you brought us this quote unquote revenue. We're going to take a cut of it." And so GC Strategy said, "Okay," and then they went back to Bottler and said, so CBSA was really mad about the contract size, so we had to reduce it, but we gave our percentage away, so you're only going to get 336 now. But in actuality, the contract stayed the same, and because Dalian was taking a cut, they then took a bigger cut out of the funds that were going down to Bottler. So Dalian got a cut, and then GC Strategies got a cut, and then the rest was going to Bottler. So you had a contractor that then subcontracted, which then subcontracted.
And then 10% for the big guy. So
20% and 20%. Both of them took 20%.
That's obviously a Biden joke, but so is that contract fraud where they're renegotiating the terms of it after the fact?
Well, contract fraud is when you're contracting a company to do something, they agree to do that, and then they use the funds for that for something else. They're actually not providing the service in the spirit of the agreement that was agreed. So the agreement was to build ArriveCan,
right?
A component for ArriveCan, and what was being done is those funds were being allocated to Bottler, which had nothing to do with ArriveCan.
Right.
Got it?
Got it. Okay, before we move on, Michael McLean with a $10 super chat says, Cypher and Fox, great channel. Abbreviations so it all fits in. Your SOBPM 90s House of Common vid was so great. VCR'd it and shared it with my friends in the 90s. What are we talking about?
I have no idea.
That was the Daryl Stinson one.
That
was
the
amazing.
Remember that one I showed you the other night?
Was the first thing that got me aware and interested in politics. Gonads. All right.
Awesome.
Fair enough. Great super chat, by the way. Thank you so
Sometimes
much.
gonads is what it takes to get you interested in politics.
Right. Oh, and Jelly Duck with a
Whatever it
$2
takes.
super chat. Thank you so much.
So so there's that. Now, so the problem is Bottler was going months without being paid, and they were kind of starting to see this stuff happening. And the other thing that was very strange is that GC Strategies was meeting with them, and they're saying, okay, so our client, Cameron McDonald, you're going to be meeting with him and a bunch of other people to try and sell this pilot. Make sure you talk up Cameron and give him all credit for this, because it's really important that they know that he was the brainchild and he set all this up. And they said, okay. So this is GC Strategies telling them to say this. And then, so they meet with Cameron, and Cameron says, okay, so we're going to be meeting with the president, John Oswowski of CBSA. This is what you need to do to sell your app. So they're like, what is going on here? So the intent was, and this is what GC Strategies and Cameron were telling Bottler, they said, listen, if this goes well here, we can push this throughout the rest of the government, and GC Strategies is going to get a 20% hit on the licensing agreement, and in the end, you'll get $20 million because we will push this out to the entire government. So Bottler's like, oh, okay, that sounds good. So they're continuing along this process. Meanwhile, they're not even getting paid. So then they start getting really annoyed. Now we're in 2021. They're like, where's their freaking money?
Yeah.
So then they're going after, they're directed to talk to someone in PSPC. That's the public service procurement arm of the government. So this lady's name is Diane Daly. They're talking to her.
What part of 2020? Is this prior to launch, or is this
late? This is so
this is when it's launched.
Yeah, again, this has nothing to do with ArriveCan.
Wow,
remember?
Hold on, what? I'm getting lost. I'm getting lost. So what? Nothing to do with ArriveCan.
Remember, what Bottler is building is this sexual harassment thing. Has nothing to do with ArriveCan.
The only link is that they're being paid with ArriveCan money.
That's right. They're being paid out of the ArriveCan contract. That's why it's contract fraud.
What? Okay. So that was the whole clue that I missed in this whole thing, is that they were. So what I understood was that they were a developer of this sexual harassment thing, but then they wanted to take that and then somehow turn it into ArriveCan. But that's not what they were doing. They were just expanding this app under government procured funds under the auspices that they were building ArriveCan, and that it's completely just fraud.
As far as the government, and so as far as the government's concerned, their complete visibility to the contract ends at Dalian. They don't have visibility to see anything else that happens behind the scenes, because that's where the paper trail ends. There's no contract between the government and Bottler. No contract between the government and GC Strategies for Bottler. Nothing there. So they're getting kind of annoyed, to the point where they submit a complaint in the fall of 2021, September 27, 2021. They submit a complaint to CBSA saying there's some shady crap going on here, everybody. And that goes unanswered. Then they try to get paid. So they go to PSPC to a lady named Diane Daly. Now, she says, well, you're not going to get paid until the project is complete. They're like, well, we've done the pilot. Everything's done. Okay, well, you have to turn all of that over. Yes. Okay, fine. So they do that. And then they say, give us our money. And they say, well, we understand that you've made complaints for misconduct. Well, yeah, you have to turn all over those documents as well within 24 hours, or you're not getting paid. So now it's extortion.
Because she's demanding, this Diane person is demanding that the Bottler people turn over their complaints and any evidence, any paperwork, anything that they have related to this complaint to the entity that they're complaining against.
Because what's included in their complaint is government misconduct and the staffing firm misconduct. So they're asking them, give over all your evidence and then you will get paid. So the government is now implicated in extortion.
Yeah.
Right?
So this is CBSA that made that extortion, or
that's PSBC.
PSBC?
That's the procurement arm.
Oh, okay. They're the ones that are extorting these people.
Yes.
Wow.
And so there's a bunch of emails that go around. Bottler refuses. Kudos on them. They decide to go toe to toe. And then a year later, they've completely had enough. They've severed all ties with GC Strategies and Dalian and all of this. They finally learned about how they were getting paid, and they've said that this is too shady. We're distancing ourselves from this. We're done. So then they decide, because they have some security experts that work for their firm, specifically Amir Morv, who is the other whistleblower. They start gathering their own evidence, like hard evidence on all of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then they put forth a rather large file, and then they submit a second complaint in the fall of 2022. Now, the interesting thing is that after the first complaint, Diane Daly, after ArriveCan was launched, was moved out of PSBC. The president of CBSA, John Oswowski, quote unquote, retired
for 3 months
in the summer of 2022 for 3 months, and then was hired by PwC. So you retired, quote unquote, and then you went to work for an auditing firm? I thought you retired.
Yeah,
so,
that happens a lot in government. That we've seen.
Yeah, because they get their pension and then they go and work somewhere else. But
yeah, like we saw recently in British Columbia, Horgan, who is our premier, he retired from his job. David Eby took over, and then a few months later, he ended up on the coal board.
There you go.
After doing coal a ton of service by basically banning LNG from coming into British Columbia.
So there you go. Well, there's his retirement gift, I guess.
Yeah. I got a super chat from Chris B for $6.99. He says, everyone has to watch YouTube whistleblowers coverage. It will blow your mind how totally corrupt Canadian government is. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. I haven't seen that channel, but yeah, check that out.
So so then a new president took over, and in the fall of 2022, all of this stuff started to come out about ArriveCan, $54 million, and all the questions started to be asked.
Mm-hmm.
And this is when the Bottler folks submitted their second complaint. And at that point, they were kind of forced to do something with it. So the then new president, Erin O'Gorman, or O'Gorman, I'm not sure how to say her last name properly, then referred that to the RCMP. After that happened, she and John Oswowski were called into committee, unbeknownst to the committee that they did that, because they were being asked questions about ArriveCan. And Erin O'Gorman chose not to reveal this complaint, chose not to reveal that there was an RCMP investigation that had started, completely hid that from committee.
Oof.
Yeah. Now, subsequent to that, what Bottler started to notice is that their emails were all of a sudden being hacked, and only the emails that were referring to misconduct and their complaints were being deleted. So in response to that, they said, all right, well, we're going to restore all those from backup, and we're going to put in a third-party piece of software that alerts us whenever our emails are being read. So they were starting to see
hackers hacking back kind of thing.
Well, they were starting to see that that their emails were being read as them on their own email server, and they're sitting there watching this happen.
Right.
So the question is who is hacking into their emails, only reading the emails related to corruption and all of this crap going on with the government? So now you have another charge of corporate espionage. So add that to the list. In addition to that, they've revealed that these three companies, Cordex, Dalian, and GC Strategies, over the last 10 years, have received over $411 million of taxpayer money. And these companies do no work. They do zero work. All they do is take the money and then give the work to other people.
And they take between 15 and
30% of the contract.
Yeah.
$430 million in how long?
10 years.
Whoa. For work that's just, at the end of the day, we're not even getting a good product.
Right. In 2013, it was fairly quote unquote low. GC Strategies wasn't in the picture. GC Strategies didn't come around until about 2017. In 2013, there was a combined $44.8 million or $42.8 million to Dalian and Cordex. They're effectively the same thing. That went to 26.6 the next year, 27.6 the next year. Then this is when Trudeau's in. Jumps to 31, 32, 35, 40, 46, 65. GC Strategies in the picture by now. Last year, $80.3 million between these three companies that do no work.
And it all kind of coincides with Trudeau coming to power.
Pretty much. And here's the interesting thing, because this is only what the government has posted. The problem is these guys could be sharing these contracts back and forth and you wouldn't know because that's all hidden.
Right. So, they contract to one company, the one gets awarded, but the other one didn't get awarded for the other one, but they may be getting work through other contracts.
Right. That they're subcontracting to subcontractors. So
they're just siphoning tax dollars off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
And there was an implication in the testimony yesterday that Cameron McDonald was getting more than just credit. So for sure, what was going on is his admitted longtime buddy, Christian Firth, was saying that that Cameron was getting a kickback from every contract that was given to GC Strategies. In addition, it was admitted by Christian Firth that, oh yeah, we do this all the time because we all have dirt on each other. So now you're talking even more extortion because you have people that are essentially complying with each other and working each other because of mutual knowledge of criminality.
Oh boy. Wow.
In addition to that, so the Conservatives were doing a great job yesterday of kind of laying this out. Then they said, all right, so all this crap's going on. Was this ever reported to a minister? Oh yeah, we reported this to the president of the CBSA, who reported it to the public safety minister. Who was the public safety minister at that point in time?
Marco Mendicino.
And there were allegedly other ministers involved as well. And the Bottler people asked for a tip request. So that's access to information privacy. You can do that from the government that involves anything involving your name. They're obligated to give that to you. Everything was redacted, of course. But committee said, well, we would like to see those unredacted, please. So the game plan of the Conservatives is going to be that once they see if there are minister names on these emails, now it is connected to Trudeau's cabinet and elected officials. Because before that, this was all connected just to public service employees. They are not elected, not really appointed aside from the deputy ministers and the assistant deputy ministers. So it could be insulated from Trudeau. And that's where we thought this ended initially. And that's why we thought, okay, so Trudeau's going to be fine. He could take this as a win. He could say, look, transparency, and throw this Cameron McDonald guy to the wolves. But he didn't do that. And we're like, what's going on here? That's why, because this is now connected into his cabinet. And if as soon as that's found out, they have to deliver all this stuff in 3 weeks, the Conservatives are going to go running to Parliament crying corruption.
Rightfully so.
This could lead to the fall of the government, because the NDP all of a sudden switched sides in this last hearing when all this crap was coming out, and they're saying, yeah, we want to see all those documents too. This is terrible. This is corruption. So the NDP are starting to distance themselves from what's about to go down.
I'm sorry, I got distracted. My wife came in with her Halloween costume on to scare me.
Spicy, Clyde.
Oh, it's creepy, actually. It was creepy. My bad. So that distracted me a lot.
So what did you miss? All of it? Let me start at the beginning.
No, all right. So
there's a company named Butler.
Oh wow. Okay, that caught me off guard. That was because I heard the sound behind me and I thought it was my son again. I was like, I'll ignore it. Maybe I'll just walk out. I look over, it's my wife. Oh man, that's funny. Yeah, no. So oh man, that distracted me really bad.
So just to do a 30 seconds. So
yeah.
So basically the Conservatives are waiting for evidence that is going to arrive in 3 weeks. They've asked Butler to turn over all of their evidence. They are happy to do so. They want to see the government corruption just completely blown apart here. And if the Conservatives get what is quite possible that they will get emails that show that cabinet ministers had knowledge of these crimes, literal crimes happening, and did not do anything, didn't raise it, didn't ensure that the RCMP was involved, nothing. And then they will be running to Parliament basically accusing that makes these ministers now co-conspirators for cover up for these crimes. So they will then be trying to implicate the NDP in this, and the NDP is going to say, whoa, we had nothing to do with this, and this could lead to the fall of the government.
Well, at least Parliament being dissolved, i.e., like the coalition ending. Like that's what you're referring to, right?
Right, but then
nobody's doing any perp walks. Like that's not happening.
No. But it could lead to it could lead the NDP saying, we're done with this. We're going to do a non-confidence vote because we want to distance ourselves as far away from this as possible, and then you could see an election.
Is that why they're campaigning so hard right now?
Oh yeah.
I don't know if this is why, but it could be partly why. Because there's a lot of this has been in the background, and of course the ministers are seeing what's going on, and the ministers are seeing the Conservatives getting closer and closer and closer. That's why they were shutting down those hearings before. So
we're getting into like super majority territory.
We're at 205 seats based on the last projections.
That's a mandate to govern.
Yeah. So and if this goes down, that's going to pop even higher. So
holy cow.
So there's a lot of crazy stuff going on with this. If anyone does want to hear the deep dive, especially the hearing yesterday, we did a 3.5 hour stream
last night. Yeah,
you told me. I didn't realize that was why it was such a big deep dive into this.
Yeah, the video was 2 hours. We spoke for, I guess, 1 hour and 20 minutes on top of that. So that was the stream. We also have our original expose on the ArriveCan scandal, and so you can watch those. The first one was 37 minutes, and then you can go into your 3.5 hour marathon to go to sleep. But and this isn't done. So committee's going to come back in 3 weeks, and this has the potential to just completely blow up and go nuclear.
And then, if I'm not mistaken, these documents that they've requested are going to be part of the public record, and then we'll be able to see them. Correct.
So the Conservatives were pushing to get all of these documents on the public record. What may not be public record is the actual contracts, so this is what they requested. They requested all of the contracts for the last 10 years from the government to Dalian, Cortex, and GC Strategies, because they want to know where the hell has our money been going. Number two, they asked for all of the evidence to be provided from Butler for all of these crimes. And they said, Yes, absolutely. We have it all. You will get it within a
Couple days,
week.
I think. Yeah.
So the Conservatives wanted to make all of those public. That should be no problem.
Right.
If the NDP is on side, they will be able to do that. The contracts, probably not, just because of privacy laws regarding the governments and NDAs and all of that stuff. But that can still be all turned over to the RCMP, and they can do what they do. And then they also asked for. I think that was in totality. They asked for all of that. So, all of the ATIP requests that Bottler made, they asked for all of that, but unredacted, with all of the minister names and the emails and all the information in there. So those are the three major document components that they asked for. But those three components can really paint a very, very sour picture for this Liberal government.
Well, like an actual criminal sort of implication picture.
Like multiple crimes. There's like 6 or 7 crimes, like federal white-collar crimes going on here.
Whoa. I mean, we all knew that there's scandal after scandal with this government, but this is like actual implication of high level officials in the cabinet, Trudeau's cabinet.
Correct, and we don't know if she was made aware or if she was aware. Like we can't speculate that, but we do know that Chrystia Freeland was named in one of the people that was involved, at least in the Bottler project.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, we know she's no stranger to conflict of interest. Holy cow! In her day-to-day activities, whether it's being on the board of trustees for the World Economic Forum, or her stuff with the Ukraine, but. Wow, she was actually implicated with that organization.
Yeah, she was involved in some of the discussions that were going on there. Now, to be completely objective about this, we have to date not seen any evidence that associates any wrongdoing with her, but these ATIP requests will reveal that, because she could be on some of those emails where she knew this was going on. It's a possibility. We don't know.
Wow.
But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if she knew or not. All it takes is 1 or 2 ministers in that cabinet to have known. And then what happens is this then gets tied back to the Chinese foreign interference, where you have ministers knowing that stuff was going on and they didn't bring it up. Now you have a pattern of this type of corruption in the government. And it's no longer a one-off. And we were talking about this on the stream last night, and how this is going to be linked to foreign interference. And then, as if on cue, they started talking about the fact that, these types of people who people have dirt on, those are the people that are actually most susceptible to foreign interference, because there's dirt out there on them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then that allows China, Russia, and all of these other countries to be able to directly influence these people to make them implement their agenda within the government.
Oh, this is sour. Yeah.
Well, and what's worse is because they were subcontracting below that, the people who were actually doing the work at the bottom, like Bottler, for instance, they didn't have security clearance, or their security clearance wasn't high enough for the stuff that they were working on. And there's no paper trail to prove or disprove it, because they were like subcontractors of subcontractors.
Yeah, they eventually got it, but it was actually one of the risks that they highlighted, is that because of this model, contractors are being given access to government resources, government information, government systems without the proper security clearance. If you have a bad actor in there, like, this could end up in one of the sensitive government systems having a time bomb planted in it, and exploding either ransomware or systemic spyware using elevated credentials. Like, imagine if you had a contractor that was working for the Chinese Communist Party, doing work on ArriveCan, which has access to virtually every single piece of information that every single traveler puts into that system traveling through Canada. And then they're able to get to every other security system, which there's 180 of them within the Canada Border Services Agency. Think of how much data that would give the Chinese government access to.
Yeah, that's insane. That's just average people's data, especially stuff that would be of an interest to them, Chinese nationals when they travel, what border they're coming from, things like that.
Well, who are the people that travel the most in Canada? Executives.
Yeah.
So now they have all this information on these executives, and now they start gaining enough information to be able to possibly influence these executives at these high-ranking companies all around Canada.
I hadn't considered that either. Yeah, that's incredible. That is a terrible security breach.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
Insane.
So that's what we've been working on.
Wow. Yeah, unbelievable. Good job. Wow, pulling up all of that information. That is just incredible. And to think, like, what are the implications of this? If this gets swept under the rug, I mean, then you'd have to say that every aspect of the government is corrupt. Even the, like, how
I don't think it will.
You don't think this?
I don't think it will this time. No. I think because it seems like the NDP are on board, at least this time. When they had the Auditor General in, no, it was the RCMP for ArriveCan.
So there was two, right? The first
the Auditor General, they let her speak for about half an hour, but the RCMP officials, the NDP and the Liberals shut down committee like the second it started. Yeah,
for the SNC-Lavalin hearing. So they brought in the Commissioner of RCMP. You're probably aware of that, right?
Yes, well, I covered it. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah.
Yeah, so this time the NDP actually seemed like they were trying to help uncover like what the data was beneath, like what the evidence was, what evidence Bottler had.
Mhm.
They weren't being resistant.
Yeah, they were trying to actually cozy up to the Bottler people there. They're like, you were so courageous. Thank you so much for coming.
I hate the pandering. It's just so
Yes.
insulting. It really is.
I know. But
you gotta have a really good gag reflex to watch those hearings.
But they were even saying, yeah, we want to see these documents. We want these documents here. And then there's this one guy, liberal, I forget his first name. His last name was Souza. He was just doing his utmost best, albeit a terrible job, at trying to just disconnect this whole thing from ArriveCan. He's like, okay, so this wasn't ArriveCan. And he was trying to really obfuscate and undermine the Bottler people. And
because they were very supportive of the ArriveCan thing.
Right. So the Bottler people, I give credit to them, did a phenomenal job. The one thing I criticize them on, which actually landed them in this whole situation in the first place, which is actually a good thing, because this probably would never have come to light if they had actually done this. They should never have started work on what they were doing without a written contract. That is business 101. You never ever commit to anything unless you have something in writing. So that was actually something that they were very naive in this whole process.
Mm-hmm.
But that naivety actually led them to uncovering all of this corruption going on. That's the irony in this whole thing.
That's insane. We got a few super chats here. David Edwards with $2 says he will prorogue government.
He might.
It's possible.
But that the great thing here is that won't matter to a degree. So, well, you know what proroguing Parliament is? Everybody on your stream.
No,
you don't?
I'm not familiar with that. What does that term mean?
Okay. So proroguing Parliament, what that does is it effectively it ends the current session of Parliament.
Okay.
It doesn't shut down the government, but it ends the current session. Now, what that has the consequence of doing is it literally shuts down every single committee, every single investigation, every single aspect of government.
And any bills that are like in first, second, third reading or even passed, but they haven't received royal assent yet, those are like dead in the water.
So everything stops and everything is literally reset to zero. It's as if the Conservatives were coming into government, or the NDP were coming into government, they would be starting from zero, except when Parliament is prorogued by the current government, the session is ended, everything starts over, and then committees are started from scratch, bills are started from scratch, everything is started from scratch. So these current investigations
That would be
are going
great
on
with the whole UBI thing.
Yeah.
Well, that'd be the only thing. But it would end all of the investigations into ArriveCan, into SNC-Lavalin, into all of this other corruption that is actually going on within some of these committees.
So in itself would be an act of corruption.
It would. But what it wouldn't end is the current RCMP investigation that is ongoing into this. That continues.
Oh, okay. So to fire up a new committee would be just a procedural thing.
It would, but they would be very careful as to who they would put on that committee and make sure they would not allow these investigations to be restarted. But it doesn't change the fact that the RCMP have an active investigation and an active case. So they will still continue to investigate the ArriveCan, Bottler, procurement corruption, and all of these crimes that have been committed.
Robert McFallon says for $5, I listened to Northern Perspectives live stream yesterday. It made my head explode just like Clyde's right now. Yeah. I didn't realize how deep this one ran. Rick Robitaille with a $10 super sticker. Thank you so much for that. It's him falling off of his chair.
Well,
unreal.
here, let me
Thank
send
you
you.
so
Let me send you something, Clyde. So check your Discord. This is an image on the CBSA website. This is their breakdown of what the ArriveCan app cost and how.
Okay, well, I don't have you set up in the thing, so it'll just be me looking at this, but here we go. So what the ArriveCan app cost.
Yeah.
So you got $80,000 initial version.
That's the only reasonable cost in this entire document.
Okay, 70 plus releases of the app and website cost $8.5 million. What are the two different categories?
8.8.
Sorry.
So yeah. So the first one is the actual cost, and the second one is the budgeted cost.
Okay, so it was more. So 8.8 for that. Service call center. Sorry, I gotta center myself on this. Service Canada call center, $7.5 million as opposed to the 6.1 it was budgeted for. Data management, 5.2. Ooh, under budget on that one. Glad to see them just cutting costs, eh? Indirect costs, 4.9 instead of the 1.8. Oh,
let me talk to you a bit.
And it just keeps going.
This will blow your mind. What happens there? So indirect cost. So see how it says payments to SSC and PSPC for internal project related activities and employee benefits, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
So Shared Services Canada and PSPC, on every single contract, on every single purchase that the government makes, they take a 10% cut. So if you're paying $5 million on a project, they will automatically add $500,000 that you have to budget to pay them. If you pay, so that's why. So 4.9. So most of this, so if you take the, so if you take the contingency off, it's close to say 49 million. 4.9 is at 10%. So that's why that's there. So they're taking a $4.9 million overage just because.
Wow. So that's kind of like shop costs, right?
Yeah.
Like when we put that on a bill, it's like, okay, well, I used the bolt here. I used some zip ties. I used some cut off discs, like all these things that are just consumables in the shop that you don't really.
Right.
But we usually, it's kind of a give and take, sort of take a penny, leave a penny, depending on the job.
Well, there's no leave a penny here. It's all take a penny.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
because there you'll have government agencies here that are completely self-sufficient, that actually don't need any of the government help, but they still have to purchase through the government and they still have to pay that 10%.
Wow. We got a super chat from Vesper Design for $10. Says, Northern Perspective are savage in picking apart the stupidity of the Liberal government. Early 2024, a new era. Go, go, go. We also have David Edwards for $5. Says, he prorogued because the We scandal. And then we have a confidence vote. We have a confidence vote. Harper also did it once. So this isn't new. This is a thing that happens from time to time.
Well, and everyone should understand that there's actually been dozens and dozens of confidence votes already, because whenever you have a vote on budget or something other like that, that's a confidence vote. So if they're voting on the budget and the budget gets voted down, the government falls.
Oh, okay. I did not know that.
Yeah.
If you disagree with their budget, then we have to go to an election.
If the NDP voted with the Conservatives against the budget, the government would have fell.
Is that just an automatic thing? So like,
correct.
A government comes with a bad budget, that everyone votes against it, and then it's election time.
Yeah, it is a confidence vote.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, indeed. Okay.
Now you can bring an individual vote of non-confidence. That's something else. But
that's actually at the end of the day, that's pretty good. Because if they have a bad budget, then it's like, no.
Right? Like, it kind of makes sense.
It's pretty risky to have a bad budget because that will bring you to an election. So it's kind of like they need to have a decent compromise on the budget. But
right, if you're a minority of the government, yeah.
But at the same time, what is it? They'll end up voting for the budget because they don't want to go on too long. I mean, I understand filibustering is a thing that the Conservatives like to. Well, everybody likes to do when they're not in power. So they'll filibuster for as long as they can, but then they end up voting for it. What, just out of attrition? What's the reasoning behind that?
Well, the Conservatives didn't actually vote for this budget; they voted against it. They vote against it, but it's because a majority does vote. They're just filibustering to delay it to make it uncomfortable. Well, yeah, they're trying to do that just to delay it as long as possible, and to on the off chance convince some of the other MPs to vote for it. It never happens.
David Edwards is also saying here for $2, they can also make any vote a confidence vote.
They can. Well, it depends on who's putting forth the motion. Yeah.
That's why I'm glad I have you guys to explain some of this stuff. I mean, like, I get the rhetoric. I get going back to the political wonks versus the political dorks. I'm a dork, so I'm an ideological guy. Like, I think about the ideology of stuff. I think about, philosophy and what is the purpose? What should a government rightfully be able to do, and then you get into the actual policy, which the political wonks like you guys get into, and then it goes down to like the actual procedural level. I don't know this stuff. Wow, like when the Speaker of the House did his grandstand, I didn't know that he was even able to do that, and they're pulling.
He's not.
Well, he's not.
Well,
he's not allowed.
But even the parliamentarians, like they don't even know the rules. They're pulling out the rule books. Well, he was trying to find a way in the rule book to shut it down.
Well, but the best thing is when Scheer grabbed the rule book, because he knew, because he was Speaker, right? He used to be Speaker of the House, so he knew exactly what was going on, and he's like, no, this is not in alignment with the standing order, but. But
there's no consequences for Liberals, right?
There's no consequences.
Greg got to do what he wanted when he wanted, and he did it because he knew Canadians would be watching question period. He was supposed to do it in that 15 minutes beforehand, or he could have done it afterwards, but he did it during question period because that's when Canadians watch. Yeah,
because there's always like at least a couple thousand minimum people watching that versus the rest of the house sitting. Nobody watches it. You actually have to go to Parlview and actually watch their stream. Nobody does that. But back to the wonks and the dorks.
Before we get into that, Steve's Hyde says for $10. But I thought the budget would balance itself. Cheers, guys. Love the channels. And also Ken Hobbs with a first time super sticker Thank you so much for $20. Really appreciate that. Thank you so much, Ken Hobbs.
I was going to say, this is why I think our channels complement each other so well, because we really dive in on very particular subjects, and we spend a lot of time on that, where you cover a wider breadth of things that are actually going on, and it actually brings us awareness to that. So,
and I talk about the philosophy behind it. I really am in touch with that. That's my concern. Is like what it's not the is versus the ought, right? So like I'm looking at what is versus what ought to be. How should we be doing this? Should the government be allowed to do these things? Should the government have a purview over these things? And this is what I concentrate on, and a philosophical view of that, and looking at the different type of political ideologies and whether or not they're compatible with our way of our lifestyle, the Canadian way, the Canadian thought process, and humanity in general, like just like the human experience. I'm sorry, I'm so abhorrent, diametrically opposed to socialism and its tenets because of the core principles behind them. I know they're pretty and they sound great on the surface, and a lot of people get mesmerized by it, but at the end of the day, when you bring it down to first principles, the idea between the real thing, the crux of what's going on between socialism and a market economy is whether or not we protect property rights. That at its core is what it is. And when
you reduce it, that's basically what it is.
Yeah, and when people realize that, they tend to fall away from the allure of that socialism brings to them. So I like to break that argument apart to that level. I love how you guys like to get into the actual implementation of these systems. I get more into the philosophical aspect of it. Alta Peasley for $13.99 says, you got a deep dive here, Clyde. Keep looking into this Arrive scam. I just watched that. This guy's garage put out. Northern Perspective just cleared it up so much more. I really like this guy's garage. I've been following him for a long time. He does really good work as well. And you guys, again, great deep dives into this stuff. Shed Dwelling Hermit for $5 says, hi, everyone. Can one's mind be blown 2 nights in a row after watching this? I think so. Thanks for all you do. Claps and cheers. All right. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. But yeah, I do agree with you. I think our channels do complement each other so well because we look at different aspects of these things while somewhat being unaware of what each other are at that moment.
Yeah, and it's great when you have that complementary type of style, because especially with all of the different channels out there, you don't want people to get any content fatigue. You want them to get something fresh with each channel that they're looking at, and because everyone has something else to bring to the table, and it just informs Canadians that much more. And it's interesting, we got an email back from one of the Conservatives that we're hoping to actually have on our show, and fascinating to hear them talk like we talk, and what they said was just it's kind of what we have to deal with. It's a shame that you have to consider your identities. I'd like to discuss how we can work together to ensure viewpoints other than what the mainstream media expound are heard. Thanks again for doing what you do. So it's interesting that even they understand what's going on, and they're pretty vocal about it. So it's a travesty in our country when journalism used to be something where there were people on there that people revered because they were trusted, they distributed the truth, and you felt informed. And now you feel lied to every time you turn on the television, and it's a terrible environment to be in.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. What was it? I gotta share this because it's absurd. It's absurd. This is CTV News Ottawa. wins 2 local RTDNA Canada awards for their coverage of the Freedom Convoy. Hey, what do you know? These guys did such a bang up job during the Freedom Convoy. They're giving themselves prizes about it. For anyone who's new to the channel, I covered the Freedom Convoy largely last year.
Where's your RTDNA award?
Oh, it's so funny because my coverage of the Freedom Convoy was that they were all lying to you about what was going down at the time. It's unbelievable that this is the kind of thing that, thanks for the
this
great
reminds
job.
me.
Wait, Clyde, go to rtdnacanada.com and scroll down to the bottom.
Oh,
This whole thing though reminds me of that meme where like Obama's draping that medal over his own shoulders. You know what I mean? You guys you would know it if you saw it. It's like you're congratulating yourself. It's just ridiculous.
Oh yeah, I love that meme. That's a good one. Okay, so this
scroll all the way down to conference and award gala partners.
Okay, conference and award gala partners all the way down.
Keep going. Keep going.
Wait. Oh, did I pass it? Oh, look!
And scroll up a little.
Global.
And there's CBC News.
There's CBC. Oh, sorry. I got my there we go. CBC Conference Award Gala Partners. These are all the people that pay for this. CBC News, our tax dollars. Global News, partially our tax dollars. Google News Initiative. All these guys will be banned on Google in a minute. Gold level sponsors. Oh, these are the higher ups. Oh, that's funny. The gold level sponsors are CTV, CNN. What? Oh man, City News everywhere. Didn't City News just get like a big like crackdown? They're firing a bunch of people. Isn't that? Hold on. I got an article right here. City launches emergency shelter. No, that's not the one. Hold on.
Unless they're launching it for their own people.
Oh no.
I'm fine. Sorry. I found a story earlier and it was City News.
So Rogers shuts down City News Ottawa radio station, lays off newsroom staff. I'll give you that link.
Please do. Oh my goodness.
Here you go.
This is too funny. Oh, I clicked that one again. Okay, here we go. No thanks. Rogers shuts down City News Ottawa radio station, lays off newsroom. The whole staff, they're gone. Oh boy. Oh boy. They're doing such a great bang up job over there in the news industry.
How's that bill C-18 working out for them?
I was just gonna say maybe they shouldn't have bullied Facebook into blocking all their links.
It was a shakedown. It really was.
Oh, for sure.
And the MP that we actually had on, Liberal MP, Ken Hardy. Hardy. He admitted it. He said, "Oh yeah, it's a shakedown. It's a complete shakedown."
Well, and then like we were going to have him on the channel, and then he went and said something very horrible in Parliament a week after Rhoda had recognized, that SS soldier in Parliament.
It wasn't Rhoda. Don't put it on him.
I know, but like
he spoke the words.
He said the words, right? So, but anyways,
he stumbled over the words as he was realizing what he was reading. Oh my goodness!
But this MP said something very similar the week later, and we're like, great.
Yeah, he basically compared he said Joseph Goebbels would be very proud of the Conservatives right now. Oh yeah. Because of all the lies that they're telling.
And we're like, how are we supposed to work with this guy? Like we went in good faith to try to have a discussion to see, why are you guys pushing forward this bill? Small YouTubers like us don't want us. And then he says something like that, and then we're like, I guess we can't work with this guy anymore because he thinks we're,
part of the Nazi propaganda machine. And he tweeted it during question period, Clyde. During question period.
Dude.
Like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
And of course, Lanceman was all over that. You can believe that. So
I can believe that for sure.
And then apologies and all this bullshit.
What was that? Was that other woman who during the Freedom Convoy? Honk honk is an acronym for Hail the Mustache Guy. Like,
right?
What are you kidding me?
Get out of
where
here.
do you get this stuff? And man, I can't. I got no time for it. I've got no time for that.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Yeah, right. I got bronchitis. Brian Peplinski with a Canadian 279, very oddly specific number for a super chat. Thank you so much. JT, this is a lesson for all Canadians. Yeah, Justin Trudeau is a lesson for all Canadians for sure. Precision. Precision? Sorry.
Non-precision, yeah.
I'm reading that wrong. I'm terrible dyslexic mechanic. That's supposed to be reading the news on the internet. Thank you so much, Non-Precision, for the $6.99 super chat. What justification could Liberals use to prorogue Parliament so soon
They don't need
into
any.
the session?
They don't need any. That's the problem. They can. Trudeau has the power to do it. He just goes to the Governor General, asks the Governor General to prorogue Parliament, and that's it. It's done.
Yeah, he could say, "I don't like cookies today. Prorogue Parliament," and then off it goes.
Can the Governor General refuse?
Nope.
No.
I don't think so.
No.
Okay. Vesper Design with a $5 super chat. Can you imagine the party in Ottawa when the Liberals love devastatingly very soon? I think leave devastatingly very soon. It will be re-christening of Canada. What are you writing? I'm having a hard time reading this. What are you writing?
Vesper's had some wobbly pops tonight.
I've had some wobbly pops and it's hard to read it now. I'm having a hard time. Oh man, yeah, no, it's gonna be a re-christening. I don't think I'm allowed to say what that word. I never understood why you're not allowed to say that word, but whatever. That's a YouTube thing. Thanks for at least keeping it kosher in the super chats. Appreciate that. But we are getting on the I think we're going a little long on this one. Promised everybody we do a Twitter Spaces. So if everybody is interested in that, go over to twitter.com/Clyde do something. We're going to be doing a Twitter Space. I think I have a link for it somewhere here. David Edwards getting in with a last minute $10 super chat says, I will explain my earlier question better. I think you ask questions, you don't explain. Anyway, what I mean by the cult of persona, when the party is tied to one name, when that name falls, the party falls. I don't think PP would behave like Trudeau. Okay, I get what you're saying on that. I hope it doesn't become that. And this is how politics have largely been going anyway. I think if the whole party is largely gets their courage from only the leader, then it could go that route. What do you guys think?
With the Liberals, yes, because the big problem that the Liberals have is Trudeau has strategically set up his cabinet to have very weak ministers surrounding him, so that there is no other perceived option for Liberal leadership other than him. If there is, the public doesn't have any sort of visibility to it, because all the public is exposed to is the ministers that are at the press conferences and in question period, and those are the cabinet primarily. So when it comes to the Liberals, I think if Trudeau falls, their party is done for. Now, when it comes to the Conservatives, I heard your question actually before we came on about this, and do we believe that this is going to be like the cult of Pierre? I don't think so, because people aren't believing in Pierre. People are believing in the ideas that he's talking about. It's not a cult to believe in affordability. It's not a cult to believe that you should be able to actually afford a home. It's not a cult to be thinking that you shouldn't have to struggle to put gas in your gas tank and heat your home. And if it was a cult, even if Pierre got in and he didn't deliver on those things, people would love him anyway. That would not happen in this case. If Pierre gets in and doesn't axe the carbon tax, doesn't repeal Bill C11, doesn't repeal Bill C18, doesn't repeal Bill C69, and doesn't start implementing legislation to do all of the things that he said he's going to do,
defund the CBC
people are going to be turning.
all the likes.
People are going to be turning on him right quick, especially because of all of the corruption that is blowing up with Trudeau right now. That's not going to be tolerated if they don't get some indication that Pierre's going to be delivering on those provinces within the first 6 months. He's going to lose his support extremely quickly if he doesn't do any of that.
I don't want it. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I think a cult leader is a very specific type of persona. They're very narcissistic, whereas I don't get that from Pierre. Now, we've asked several MPs that we've spoken to, also, former MPs, for example, our friend David Sweet, who told us, that Pierre is a very genuine person. He's a very kind person. He's a great husband. He's a great dad. Like, you don't hear about those qualities in a cult leader. And I trust David because he's not an MP anymore.
He has no skin in the game.
Yeah. So, he's not trying to get reelected. He's not trying to get his leader elected. He's out of the game.
He just wants to run his trailer park.
And he also used to work with Dave, or he also used to work with Pierre on, I think it was the ethics committee, he said. So, he knows him on a personal level. So I trust what he says 100%.
Yeah, and he says what you see on the camera, that's basically what you see on the tin. What you see on the tin is what's inside. With Pierre. So the way he is on camera is the way he is off camera. And the Liberals, they try and paint him as this. Well, he's not who he says he is. Well,
he's hard in question period.
He is who he has to be when he has to be.
Yeah, like, he's tough in question period because he's trying to stand up for Canadians. And that's what question period is. It's the chance for the opposition to question the government about their policies and try to implement things for their constituents, because not all of us voted for Trudeau. We didn't. You know what I mean?
No, I didn't.
How many viewers on this channel did? So why should he get to decide how this country is going and have no input from the rest of us?
Well, and put it this way, Larry Brock, which a lot of people love, and they should, because he's an amazing MP. He is not on every committee, but he's brought in as an associate member when they need him, because when they need somebody to literally interrogate somebody, they bring in Larry Brock because he used to be a Crown prosecutor and is so good at it. And Pierre, they used to bring him in when they're dealing with corruption, when they're dealing with, people that are that need to be held to account. Pierre was very, very good at that. He was the pit bull of the Conservative Party when it came to committee. So that's what the Liberals are trying to kind of paint him as, is, it's this very aggressive guy, and he doesn't care about you. No, he's who he has to be when he has to be, and that's also a mark of a good leader, because they can adapt to the audience and the situation that they need to be in.
I can see that. Yeah, Brian Letwinuk for $10 says it's not a real live Northern Perspective show until Syfe drops an F-bomb. Just saying.
Maybe in the after chat.
Maybe in the after chat.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah, exactly.
So for the after chat this evening, instead of going over to Discord, we're going to try something new. This is a new thing for the channel. We're going to go over to X, formerly known as Twitter. We have a Spaces lined up. I put a link in the chat there. People can come in and join in and speak. It's more of a politeness setup that you raise your hand and then you can come in and talk. And we have it set up for that. Full Wookie with a $20 super chat says Dork plus Wonk live stream, the Dork Wonkian mating dance, honk honk. Thank you so much, Wookie, first time super chatter. That's funny. That's really good.
Love the Elvis icon there too.
Amazing. So yeah, come on over to X, formerly known as Twitter. Again, link is in the chat here. Join in and we'll continue this conversation via mobile, because we can't set it up on computers, so it'll just be audio only. And want to try it out because it's a fun thing to do. Nux for Cup with a last minute $10 super chat saying, and that's one reason why the Liberals will stretch the election out 2 years. The list of promises the Conservatives is getting long. Many won't be fulfilled and it could hurt them. We'll see. We'll see on that. Anyway, we're going to switch over to the spaces over on X. Thanks everybody for joining us in this evening, and of course, as always, well, you guys know where to go check out Northern Perspective. Go subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet so far, and we'll be in X, so you can go check out their Twitter page as well. So thank you all so very much, and we'll see you in the next one. And